Namo Tassa Bhagavato ArahatoSammaSambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato ArahatoSammaSambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato ArahatoSammaSambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they never be parted from their happiness beyond suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment to the near, and aversion from the far. I shall cause this. Great compassionate Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every types of offerings, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all of my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in all the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until cyclic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for all sentient beings. I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. However innumerable all sentient beings are, I vow to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, I vow to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, I vow to master them all. However endless the Buddha's way is, I vow to follow it completely. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Tayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Soha. Tayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Soha. Tayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Soha. So now you can get yourself ready for meditation. Just to remind you, and also to let people know that didn't attend last week, that I'm not going to give all of the detailed instruction on the meditation from now on. That's for two purposes. We still do it. The format that we're using, we'll still use it. Okay, but first of all, for your sake, in the sense of you memorizing the details of the meditation. So if you struggle doing that, or if you're new to the class, then just look at the previous classes. I've actually been reposting them on Facebook every day recently. So have a look at the previous classes to see all of the minor details. For instance, in the relaxation of the body, I go through all the different parts. For instance, the toes, the bottom of the feet, the ankles, and so forth. just so you know them, so that you can memorize them or bring them to your practice every day when you're not getting instructions. And it is the same with the breath meditation, and will be also the same with the loving kindness meditation. This also will allow us to have a longer Dharma talk. Not by much, but a few minutes maybe. Okay, so straight away, you can close your eyes, gently touch your lips, and relax the body. Release the tension from the body. We will start from the bottom of the body and work our way up, from the tips of the toes all the way to the tips of the fingers, and then to the top of your head. So initially release the tension from the lower part of your body. Around the middle of your body. And the upper part of your body, all the way to the tips of your fingers. And also from your neck and your head and face to the top of your head. And at the end of doing this, just scan your body again to see if there's any residue tension that you can release. And now bring your attention initially to the tip of your nose, and we will follow the breath. We are practicing anapanasati, or mindfulness of the breath meditation. Also you could say shamatha, or calm abiding meditation. Follow the feeling of the breath as you breathe in and out, all the way into your lungs. Maintaining as much as you can the focus on the breathing process. If any mental agitation arises, just calm your mind down by refocusing on your breath. And if your mind becomes dull, wake it up a little bit by focusing more brightly on your breath. The process of meditation. Don't judge yourself and don't judge the method. Just put it into practice. Mindfulness of the breath, aware when your mind wanders from the breath or becomes dull, and then conscientiously applying the antidote of refocusing on your breath. So now we will practice like this for a few minutes in silence. So now you can feel very pleased with yourself and fill yourself with universal loving kindness. Fill yourself with so much loving kindness that now it overflows and radiates outwards, initially to your family and friends. And gradually further and further to now include strangers. And even those that you find difficult and may even regard as enemies. May all of these people be happy, free from suffering, and be at peace. Radiate further now to also include all other living beings around your immediate area initially. And throughout your whole state or county. And other states and counties throughout your whole country. Like a tidal wave of loving kindness now, gathering momentum, including other countries and the whole world. And other worlds and the whole solar system. And other solar systems throughout the whole galaxy. And other galaxies throughout the whole universe. And throughout infinite space. May all living beings be happy, free from suffering, and be at peace. Now also be present here and now, and we will recite the dedication prayer. Due to this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of the Buddha, so that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious bodhicitta not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. And may the precious view of shunyata, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. So yes, so we're doing less detail. And like I said, for those of you that have forgotten some of the details, then just review the previous classes. Or shoot me a text or an email or give us a call and we can go through them as well. Okay, so mainly for your own sake, I'd like you to memorize, not just rely upon instruction all the time, so that you can hear the instructions initially, then you can memorize them and then put them into practice at any time and anywhere for yourself. And like I said, it also frees up just a few minutes so that we can talk for a little bit longer. And so we have just finished doing the commentary for the last couple of months, I think, on the 5 skandhas, or the 5 aggregates of form, feeling, thoughts, impulse, and consciousness. So I hope that all of you have enjoyed that. And if some of you have missed participating, then just review the classes. And even if you don't want to go through the chanting part or the meditation parts, it's just about the last half of each video. Is the Dharma Talk. I've been reviewing them as I've been reposting them, and it's obviously really good information for you. And it's definitely in a process. There's definitely a method to my madness, you could say, a method to the way that I'm teaching in a certain order. And kind of like opening, it's like when we open a door, we open the door a little bit, and then slowly we open the door a lot more. So that's the way that that's my intention with these teachings, and trying to do what the Buddha did with my limited abilities, limited knowledge, and also as my masters have done, teaching me and others as well. And so today's class will be just to finish off those 5 skandhas. We were talking about hope and fear, and as well as relating to the 8 worldly concerns. And so I didn't get into too much detail with that, so I'll finish that off today. It's also a request through Messenger. Somebody asked me to elaborate a little bit more on that. And just to be clear what we hope for, what we're fearing, and what it is we're chasing, what it is we're trying to avoid. And so that we can correct this, you know, because this is all happening in our own mind a lot of the time. Now, of course, you can hope for good things. That's very good, but don't cling to that. And you can have what I like to call a healthy fear of things that are dangerous, specifically in the mind, but even the physical things. You know, you don't want to go and hang out with a hungry crocodile, for instance, or a hungry shark, or a bear, you know, who hasn't had a feed for the whole hibernation period. You don't want to go and hang out with them. And that's a healthy fear. You don't want to hang over the edge of a cliff, and especially if you have some fear of heights where you get dizzy. So that's a healthy fear, but don't cling to that either, okay? And so we hope, obviously, for things that what we find pleasing, isn't it? And we have fear of having those things that we find unpleasant. Now, this isn't a fear now that I'm talking about, like fearing your life, things like that. But actually, we really don't want those things that cause us pain or displeasure. Now, those 2 that I just mentioned there, pleasure and pain, they are the first 2, you could say, no specific order, but 2 of the 8 worldly winds. The 8 worldly winds can be known as the 8 worldly concerns. Also, they come in 4 pairs. So sometimes they're known as the 4 pairs. So if you are studying this, if you're researching this outside of the classes, don't get confused by these different terms, different headings. Okay, so pleasure and pain. We hope for pleasure. We fear experiencing pain. We hope to gain. We fear losing. We hope for fame, and we fear blame. We hope for praise, and we fear shame. I memorized it sort of like, it's almost like poetry, isn't it? I memorized it like that many, many years ago. But once again, different words could be used for this. It could be fame and infamy. It could be, you know, praise and, I don't know, having your faults looked at, for instance, you know, I mean, many different ways of expressing this, but we'll stick with these words today, okay? So these also can be opposite, can't they? Think about it. If you are hoping to gain something, let's say you're hoping to gain material wealth, and you are fearing losing material wealth. That's in that order. But what happens if you have a cold, for instance? Do you want to gain more sickness in the cold? Or do you want to lose that? Of course you want to lose that cold, get rid of it. And so you can see how it can be applied the opposite way as well. I won't give you too many details or too many examples like that, but I think it can be, if you think about it just briefly, you can see that these can be applied the opposite way as well. All right, so nod if you agree with this. If I can move on, nod. Okay, so today and also probably the next 2 classes, I will answer some questions that have been sent to me. And then we will move on to the 6 paramitas. Now, I know some of you have attended the classes, especially face-to-face, over the last bunch of years. And I think it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago, we actually went through in detail, probably took almost the whole year to do the 6 paramitas. And we actually utilized some commentary from His Holiness the Dalai Lama at that time. I know that I can't see everybody on the screen here without clicking. I won't bother doing that, but I can see Mahendra and Nelon. I know that you attended those classes. I will keep them the same. Obviously, the Buddha's teachings, I can't change them. but also I will try to give some fresh examples as well as we go through these 6 paramitas. We will have an overview, maybe 1 or 2 weeks, and then we will have maybe 1 week or maybe 1 or 2 weeks for each of them. And that'll take us into the next couple of months. So questions. One question came from Benito, who is initially from Sweden, and he lives in Thailand. Now he's too busy to participate with us live, but he's always looking at the videos, and has been what he calls me his teacher, I guess from a distance, and asked me a lot of questions through Messenger and emails over the last couple of years. Now, the question he had was related to the second noble truth. Now, the first noble truth, to remind you, is the truth of suffering, that in life we experience suffering, unsatisfactoriness. The second noble truth is the cause of suffering, which the Buddha called tanha, in Pali, or trishna in Sanskrit. Now, we normally translate that as attachment. So attachment is the cause of suffering. Of course, the attachment is based on ignorance or a lack of knowing, avidya. Vidya meaning knowing, avidya means a lack of knowing or not knowing. So this tanha, or this attachment, can also be known and is quite often translated as desire. But actually, the word desire, I look at it like this: desire actually is neutral. So maybe it's not the best word to use, because we can desire to end all suffering for all living beings. We can desire to develop and realize bodhicitta. We can desire to realize prajnaparamita, or the perfection of wisdom. In other words, desiring to work our way towards what we call enlightenment. This is a good desire. We can also desire to hurt others. This obviously is a bad desire. And then maybe many other types of desires, you could class them in the middle there, like neutral, neither this nor that. So maybe desire is not the best word to use, which was the word that was used in the book that Benito was studying at the time, which led to this question. Okay, so maybe attachment is a better word to use. We can also use the words clinging or grasping at, and many different ways. Once again, I remind you, don't get confused when you're studying the Dharma, utilizing different sources, whether it's internet or hard copy books or listening to different teachers. Don't get confused by the words, okay? Always try your best to memorize or to retain the teachings and then contemplate them. Part of the initial contemplation is to understand the words and the meaning behind the words, and then to contemplate the meaning, okay? So there are 3 types of tanha, or attachment. There's the attachment to sense pleasures, there's attachment to existence, and there is attachment to non-existence. I won't go into too much detail here because Benito's main question was relating to pleasure. Is pleasure a problem? Do you think pleasure is a problem? Of course, pleasure is not a problem. You can experience pleasure, no problem. In fact, actually, it's interesting because maybe I can go into slight little bit of detail here, that all of existence, the first noble truth, is suffering. It's unsatisfactory. Because even when we experience what we call temporary happiness, it doesn't last, it's temporary. This is unsatisfactory. This is a form of suffering. So if you consider that all existence is suffering, when we get less suffering, when the intensity lessens, almost so much so that we can call it temporary happiness. So isn't that interesting? You think about, so the relief from suffering we call happiness, but it's not real happiness. It's not mahasukha, the great happiness that comes from the, traversing through the stages of the path to enlightenment. And then, of course, the ultimate happiness of enlightenment, the ultimate bliss. So don't let that bum you out that all existence is suffering. This should motivate us to practice the Dharma, the path to enlightenment. We need to free ourselves from this. And as the Buddha says, and as all the great masters have reiterated over the years, we can do this. This is actually our true potential, is to realize enlightenment. Otherwise, it would be pointless having these teachings. You're better off than just having feel-good teachings. Or as I used to joke years ago, maybe you can, I don't know, drink a bottle of whiskey or something, and then for about 5 minutes you get relief. Of course, later on you end up with a big headache, and it's a big problem. But maybe, you know, if it wasn't possible for us to attain enlightenment, then why are we doing this? Why did the Buddha give the teachings? Of course we can attain enlightenment, because all we're really doing, even though it may be difficult sometimes on the path, it may take a long time, a lot of effort, but what we're doing is unveiling our truth, unveiling our enlightened nature. Okay, so it's already with us, but we're uncovering or unveiling it. All right, so back to the initial question. So pleasure is not a problem. What is the problem is attachment. The Buddha said the cause of suffering is attachment. So we need to uproot attachment. And then, of course, we need to uproot the ignorance that this attachment comes from. So much so that it doesn't grow back again. I like to give examples like using the tree. The tree is used, nature is used in a lot of the Buddhist teachings. And if you have a tree in your yard, for instance, your garden, that needs to come down for whatever reason, you don't try to get the roots out straight away, do you? You chop it down a little bit at a time, like the professional tree cutters do. Branch at a time, and slowly get down to the roots, and eventually dig them up. And you even dig up, so the tree doesn't grow back again. You even dig up the tiny little bits of the roots so that the tree doesn't grow back again. And this is like digging up even the propensity, the possibility that this ignorance can arise again. And the way you do that is with prajnaparamita, the perfection of wisdom, the supreme wisdom. Okay, so the other ones, of course, is attachment to existence, always wanting life, always wanting this here and now, and then wanting the opposite of that as well, attachment to non-existence. But like I said, the main question here was to do with pleasure. Is pleasure a problem? No, it's not. It's the attachment to the pleasure that is the problem. And it is likewise with the pain, for instance. We have an aversion to the pain. So you can see, once again, the three poisons of ignorance, attachment, and aversion are in play here. So they are the problem, not the pleasure and not even the pain. It's the attachment and the aversion that spring from ignorance. Okay, so that's the answer to that question. I hope that everybody else got something from that. I know that for many of you, you've heard these things before. And so this is just a reminder. And maybe giving slightly different examples can help you to realize that, to memorize that, to recall it, and maybe even teach you something new and on a deeper level. The next questions that came just like 10 minutes before the class started, I didn't get a chance to write them down. So I have my phone here and in Messenger. So the first question is being consistent with my Dharma practice the key to reaching enlightenment? Well, first of all, it is a key, not the key specifically, because we obviously, to understand the teachings and then put them into practice consistently. So we need to thoroughly investigate them so that we really, really know them. It's not just, otherwise we could be consistent in our practice, but our practice is based on erroneous views, maybe, so the first thing is to really check that you understand the methods, the teachings well, and then that you know how to implement them correctly as well. And then you become consistent. Now, of course, the concept or the bodhicitta, the great altruistic intention, is very important. This is essential, but also the wisdom aspect is essential on the path to enlightenment. Okay, but we need to be consistent. So you are correct. But the only word that I would change there is, instead of the key to practice, I would say, a major key to practice, to realizing enlightenment, I should say. Okay, so that's hopefully covered that one. Please send me a message again if you want more clarification, and then I will write it to you as well, and also address it in the coming classes. I don't use Facebook more than 1 hour in a day, so I'm trying to make my Dharma practice independent of Facebook. That's very good. Okay, I myself, maybe I'm on Facebook a little bit more than I used to be, but that is especially through this pandemic period, trying to share whatever knowledge I have, whatever teachings from other teachers, from the Buddha, as well as my own writings on Facebook. Try to do it at least, say 6 posts a day, and then of course with the videos as well. I do check if anybody shares my teachings or likes. I always press like, and that's to acknowledge and to say thanks, and to encourage people to do that. And also I keep in touch with some of my other Dharma teacher friends, like Master Chentao Fashe, for instance, and we tend to be in contact through Messenger, and also those little likes and little comments on each other's posts, to encourage, not only encourage each other, but also I think, I don't really know if this is true or not, but the algorithms that Facebook works off, the more something is liked, the more circulation I believe that it gets. So the more you like good things, the more those good things are going to go out there. So I've been told. Okay, I don't know if that's true or not. So Facebook, it can be helpful because there are many Dharma teachings on there. But if you're using Facebook, first of all, for communication, say with family overseas and everything like that, it's really good to share good things. That's a really good thing. But don't just scroll and, go through nonsense stuff, get involved with politics too much. It's okay to read politics and, social type things. That's fine, but not too much, not so much that it gets in the way of your Dharma practice. Okay, make it part of your Dharma practice. So I think 1 hour a day is a good thing. It's a good thing for us to set boundaries for ourselves with especially the worldly things, and then stick to that. That's like keeping the precepts, for instance. Right now I do precepts meditation, Dharma talks, and sutra studies, sutra reading. So that all these are very good. Obviously the precepts: don't kill, don't steal, don't engage in sexual misconduct, don't engage in wrong speech, or utilize, things that alter the mind. Be moderate in the way that you live. Okay. If you need medication and it's for sure for your health, then absolutely. I had a question a while ago about prescribed medication from somebody, and I said, you have to take this. We're all not perfect. We have some sort of imbalances in the body. Some people take blood pressure medication, some people related to the sort of mind, the brain. This is all fine, as long as it's legit, and you should do it. You shouldn't avoid that, because we all have imperfections, isn't it? This came actually from a quote that I came up with years ago when I was teaching in the prisons. And I said, replace your medication with meditation. And just utilizing the words. Of course, if the medication is needed, then you should take it. But if it's not needed, there's some things that maybe you can, over time, replace with meditation practice. Then, of course, so the sutra studies is very good. Should do consistently, as you say. Listening to Dharma talks. I always say, even my regular students that would regard me as their teacher or number one teacher or whatever, I always say, if you get an opportunity to listen to other teachers, you should do so, because then you get maybe an overview of things, a real wide view of the same teachings. Yeah, because many people will use different examples, for instance. Some of them may resonate with you more, other ones not so much. The precepts, yes, covered that. Meditation I do every day. Anapanasati, so breath meditation, that's excellent. Practice in the morning, and I double that time in the evenings, and as well as other times throughout the day. This is perfect. I think this is wonderful. Don't stop doing that. Maybe this is actually encourage So some of you that maybe you don't practice meditation as much as you could, or that you should even. So maybe we can practice more and more. So this is a very good thing. I send metta to others when I find the time. Of course, sending love and kindness to others, as we do this more and more, it becomes more of a habit, doesn't it? You know, so the more eventually we're going to radiate this love and kindness all of the time, which is really what we want. That's, once again, it's why it's one of the 4 immeasurables. Now we're under 1 minute, so I'll try to finish the last couple of these. Dharma talks, I like reading articles that you share, and I like reading the Dharma talks on the Access to Insight website. No, really good. You should continue to do so. And don't just listen to them for the word's sake, but really get to understand the meaning of them. The sutras, I read a sutra every weekday and try to find time to read the Metta Sutra each night before bed. It's really good. I think my understanding of the 4 Noble Truths, the Noble Eightfold Path, has deepened right now, and I find focusing on right resolve, so the right effort, very helpful. So continue to do so. So I don't know if I'm going to get cut off, but yeah, consistently practice Dharma. Always check your mind, because your intention is of utmost